Good morning, all the students and the faculties. Welcome to this online session of IIC GIST Unit. As we are all aware of this IIC Activity 5.0 academic calendar, that we have to complete our 4 quarters event, and this is our quarter three, uh, third event. And here we are going to discuss today. Today we are going to present or to share the excellent presentations from Mr. Harit Mohan sir. And actually, this is on the some legal steps. What should be the legal steps taken to start to go for a startup? If somebody's thinking of preparing some startup planning, is thinking of being an entrepreneur, then what should be the legal procedures to be followed out and to for this establishment and all the other parameters to be considered while going to boost out something big. So in that case, it is by considering the theme of entrepreneurship, we have just very much honored to MHRD that they have already organized this session, one of the sessions which is actually on legal and ethical steps and a most productive follow-up that has to be considered by each and every entrepreneur who is going to and will be going to thinking of being doing something like that. So in that case, as this era is very much new and new in the sense in the academic sections, and we are very much honored to our government of India and AICT as well, those who have incorporated these things to the young minds, as it is very much required, and it is very much required not only for the students, for the faculties as well, being we also do have to gain some knowledges on perspective point of view on basis of the startup entrepreneurship, what should be the future and what are the procedures if some students have been stuck into somewhere at some point, so that you can be able to make them help them out. So in that case, we are very much honored that some outline has been given by provided by our ISC, and on basis of that our committee also together just called one session, and we decided that these videos are very much effective, and so we have decided to share this video with the students and the faculties as well. And I'm very much honored to have a wonderful convener, Mr. Guru Shankar Falsar, who is arranging all these things. And we are also very much thankful to our president, Sheikh Mahidul Islam, also. And that's why, being myself, Ishan Samanto, the Vice President and Innovation Activities, our ISC GIST unit, I am hereby handovering this session to Mr. Gol Sangopal, the convener of this ISC GIST unit, to play the video of Mr. Mohit sir. And so the students and the faculties as well can go through this, and they could understand what are the legal steps and procedures to be considered while forming some startup or some foundations, like what India is actually planning in nowadays for the future perspective. Thank you very much. Thank you, Gul sir. It's over to you.
Thank you, Sir, for the nice conversation.
Hello everyone, how are you doing? Today we will be talking about the legal and ethical steps that yields to the productivity every entrepreneur and the startup desires. But before we start on the formal event, let me start by thanking MHRD's Innovation Cell, which is a part of Government of India, Institutions Innovation Council, and also AICTE for giving me this opportunity to do this event with all of you today. And of course, CPAM, who recommended me probably to AICTE for conducting this event. Before we start in, a brief introduction about me. I am Harit Mohan. I am CEO and founder of Signicent. Signicent is a patent research company located in Mohali in India and Delaware in the United States. The company started off in 2012, and we've been into 7 years doing patent researches and a lot of patent filing activities across the globe. So today's agenda, we would be talking about about the startups. We will be talking about the IPR stuff. We will be talking about a lot of entrepreneurship stuff. So let's get rolling. And on the left-hand side of my screen, you will be seeing. Let's start with startups first of all. So when you start with a company, the major thing that you would require is, how do I find an idea? So I've been mentoring a lot of startups personally, and what I've always faced is, from the startups, they do not know how to make a startup, how to find an idea first to make a startup. So all these are the key problems that anybody who is willing to go into the entrepreneurship part would face. So with my experience, these are the five things. Of course, there could be many more. It all starts with observation. Let's start with a very basic example here. So let's assume that you want to charge your mobile phone, and you want to charge your mobile phone, and there is no table around. So what do? We often do? We try and balance the mobile phone over the top of the charger, and what happens when it vibrates? Yes, it falls down. So then there could be some solution towards it that we think should be there, that we could focus on, or that we could try and utilize in the terms of innovation. And if that innovation is also possible to be used by masses, that's there the startup idea. So the basic learning is, we need to observe the problems that are that are around us, that are always there around us, and we need to start finding some very good solutions to solve those problems. A lot of people also, surf a lot. They kind of read a lot. They become expert in some area when they start reading about around a problem for a few weeks, couple of months, and then they start realizing what is available, what is not available. In IP terms, that's called as prior art. So prior art is anything that is existing to solve a particular problem. And then your challenge as an entrepreneur is to find something even more innovative. So we'll be talking more about that in our sessions today. Some people are very fond of reading books, so there are a lot of people who have said that book reading is possibly something where you can get an ideas as well from. Writing journals, you should observe what you do. You should write, take notes. Sometimes it happens, of course, often with me. I get some idea at the night when I'm about to go to bed, and by the morning, I get up, bang, the ideas are gone. So you need to be very sure. So I personally keep a notepad in my mobile phone where I keep writing the ideas that I get, because who knows, that could be $1 million idea and they will be gone like that before you could document it somewhere. What I've also learned in my 12 years of entrepreneurship journey is, you should socialize a lot. I mean, should talk to a lot of people from the same business areas, from the different business areas. Try and imbibe how they have solved a certain problem and how they are finding towards it. So, going further, once you have an idea, which is of course sometimes difficult task, uh, I have taken a lot of sessions with young entrepreneurs, and this is what I often tell to them, that idea creation could be easily plotted on the terms of quality that an idea has when you're thinking to solve a problem, and the time it needs to generate such a good idea. So how it starts is like this. So when we start thinking, let's take an example. Let's say I want to plan, after this lockdown is over, I want to plan my vacation. What's the first place I want to go? So the minute you start talking with your friends, with your family, the most obvious things start coming up. So I'm in Chandigarh right now. So for us, for example, Shimla is very nearby. It's like 4 hours from here. So the minute I say something like, where should we go? My family would say, let's go to Shimla. So that's, of course, the relevant idea. It took less time to come up, but no, I have visited there multiple times. So does my family. And then we, kind of hit bottom where we are, more time is being spent and we are not able to find a good location. And some ideas are coming. Some of us are kind of declining it, and the things and the thoughts go over for some time. Sometimes we give up. Sometimes the discussion rolls over. Gradually what happens is, after spending some time, you get something more novel. Of course, it may not be as relevant as it seems, like the Shimla example, but this could be a small town in the foothills of Himalayas, where which is less explored. It's more novel to go there, and it took us time basically to decipher or to reach that idea. This happens in every ideation stage, to be often. The important thing that you learn from here is give time. Take some time when you are solving a particular problem. Get via this curve and get something very novel out of it. On the right hand side of the screen, what you would see here is that some of the ideas needs time to diffuse. Again, let's understand this with the help of an example. Remember the time when e-commerce started, maybe 7 8 years back. How many of us are actually confident that we could go to the Flipkart or Amazon and start buying stuff? To be very honest, people were very afraid. Would we get genuine products or not? Would that yield value for my money? Would I get something totally fake? Will they take my money? They will not deliver me the product, and all those stuff and all those fear was there in somebody's mind. Now, what happens was, imagine that you were in a class, a group of friends and family. There were, of course, a couple of people who always take that initial risk. So these are the people, we call as innovators. These are the people who stand in queue when the new iPhone launched. They stand over the whole night to grab their first iPhone. They're the risk takers. They're the innovators who want to rely on a product without the market getting tested. So for any startup, any entrepreneur to get this is a challenge. And then comes the next 13.5% of the population, which we call as early adopters. So when the e-commerce industry grown, what happened was there were people, let's assume we were in a class of 50 people. After the first three, four have done it, then comes the next five, seven people who were, the early adopters of the technology. They saw the first two people, were very happy. They got good discounts. They were not cheated, and they jumped in. They also started using e-commerce. Then, when five, seven, eight people have in the class have done, 20 jumps, 25 people jump in from the whole class. And that's like saying that about half of my class is using e-commerce, and it of course took a few years before a lot of people relied over it. And then when everybody saw that 50% of people around me are buying it, the late majority jumped in. And then there are of course people who never ever go to e-commerce, and they are the laggards. We call them as laggards. So this is how the law of diffusion of innovation happens. This is how, if you are doing some startups, if you are finding the solution and want to sell it, it has to go to the same diffusion curve, and that's how it would go about it. And then there is important key thing that I would also like to share with you. If we kind of value the impact versus the time that is there to find an idea or to get an idea into the market, how should we go about it? So what we do is there are low to high impact idea, and once again everything, time is money in business. So there is low to high amount of time that is going into it. So if, for example, if I am getting something which has low impact on my business, and the time of course is taking less, that is not of my priority. If the impact is low, if the idea quality is not that good, and you think it is going to take you several months or maybe years to develop it, no, this is not the right time. You can go out of cash much before a low impact idea of yours could even come to the market. So you should of course diffuse such ideas as an entrepreneur. Then there are, of course, ideas which are high impact factor, but of course time is gonna be also high. So they are very good for long term because, of course, the impact that they could leave to the market is good. So you should never ignore them. But then, as a startup, as an entrepreneur, you want to first roll out something that you could start generating revenue with, or you can start paying back your investors with, or you start paying salaries to your employees. And then these are the ideas you should definitely work at. Next thing that you should also realize is that the very good ideas are the one which is less time consuming, and of course they have high impact. These are the ideas that we should always go for. So whenever now you're ideating next, when you are creating some innovation, when you're thinking from some idea, that's the metrics that you need to keep in mind. Now, once the ideation phase has been over, of course, you need to, talk to a lot of people. You need to do a lot of maths and R&D to see if it is market-wise feasible or not. We assume once you reach to that, phase, then comes the legal aspects of any startups. And with legal, because I come from an intellectual property rights background, we specialize in patents. So I would say IPR is something very important that any startup, any entrepreneur should definitely care about. So the next few minutes we'll be spending upon understanding very quickly IP at a glance. So then there are patents, there are trademarks, there are copyrights, there are geographical indication, and there are industrial designs. Patents are something which are given for what we call as solutions towards a problem. In Hindi, we can call as jugaad. Trademarks are something that makes you represent some of your brand, some of your logo. For example, you would see the Signicent logo right here on the top of the slide, which is basically trademark of Signicent. And then there is copyright. So, for example, the presentation that I'm giving you right now is a content that I have written or we have created, and thus it's a copyright material, and nobody could use it as such. Copyright could also cover very quickly poetry, if there are some shires in the audience today, if there are painters, people who draw, people who write blogs for something, all that comes under a copyright because they're content. Geographical indication is something that is given to a geography. For example, we could talk about Kolhapuri chappal, we could talk about Amritsari naan, and we could talk about any Assam tea, for example. They are all geographical indication. People would like, to associate a certain part of geography with the products that they are famous for. Of course, from the areas that you are belonging to today, would have some geographical indication too. And then there are industrial designs. They're basically the ornamental designs. So, for example, if today you are using a mobile phone or your laptop to watch my session, so the design of that would be falling under designs. However, the technology behind it would go under patents. Now let's try and quickly do a very quick exercise to gather it. And of course, at your place, as I'll take a pause before I show you the answers of the next screen, and probably you can take this quiz to see if you get the concept. So let's start guessing here. What's the first thing that you see on the screen is about? So first thing is trademarks. So this is a logo. We are talking about a company's brand value. And if I also say the phrase "I am loving it," what brand does you associate it with? You would say McDonald's, because the phrase it also related to the branding of that company. So phrases, logos, even the tunes like "Har ek friend zaruri hota hai," Britannia, Sting, Ting, Tinning. All these tunes are also basically trademarked because they associated themselves with certain products or brands behind them. So this on this screen right now is a camera design which we are using for maybe shooting today's video also. So what's this camera design about? So this camera design is basically falling under, if you look at the design aspect, it will fall under industrial design. But if you talk about the entire technology, the arrangement of lenses and things like that, it would fall under patents. Next, 5 point someone, this is a book. So books fall under, yes, copyrights. And then last, if we talk about the secret formulas, they would fall under trade secrets, because nobody knows as of now exactly what Coca-Cola use in their composition. Another way of remembering a secret formula could be, let's say, the KFC's recipe that makes chicken so delicious for them. Next in line, we could also talk about, let's assume this is a mustache device, which somebody uses this device to kind of sharpen the mustache. So which is this device? So of course, this would also fall under the patents area. And next, if we talk about this painting, and the painting is once again content, so and this will fall under copyrights. Next, we have phone. Talking about patent designs, and this logo would go under trademark. So as we pause in a little here to help you digest, so we talk about patents, trademarks, copyrights, geographical indication as the key IPR rights that you could own for the startups or the things that you're creating. So before we move to the next section, this is, for example, design patent. Do you remember? Yes, it's a Tesla's logo, and this is trademark. Then you talk about chappals, this come under geographical indication, and then we have the mouse designs, that would also fall under the mouse designs, patterns of the technology behind it. And so now the next and the key question that we want to face is why safeguard the IP? Why do you need to safeguard the IP? So there are multiple reasons you would like to safeguard your IP. The first reason is it helps you commercialize, because if you have a patent in place, what you could do is you could of course make sure nobody's going to copy it for at least the period of patent life, that is generally 20 years, and people could ask the license for it. So for example, I was reached by a junior of mine from college time. They are generating some COVID masks these days, and they had a very basic question that every startup today has. Now they have the technology, they could think over it, but they do not have the mass production rights. They cannot have the mass production capabilities, rather. So if you do not have the capabilities, the best way people do it is they take it, the patent license, to some other big company. They get the royalty. They get 5 to 10% of the share of every product that is sold in the market. Or you could do a voluminous deal of the licensing on an annual basis. You get the money no matter what happens, irrespective of the sales, and you get happy. So patents start making you commercializing the stuff. If it is trademark, of course, there are a lot of common trademarks. People get into crux with it, tucks with it. Like, I have my trademark, a company B is copying my trademark. Imagine, today Ubers, which is now known for mobility in our cities, there is another tuber that is created, and then, of course, it will yield to confusion, and Uber will not like it. So it's very important that you should safeguard IP before you start launching enormously into the market, and you need to protect your innovation in the right form of IPR legally. It also, of course, help you in recognition and rewards. A lot of colleges, a lot of universities today relates promotions, appraisals, salary hikes in the terms of patents. So that's also coming up. There are taxation advantage. A lot of governments give you if you are owner of a patent, and of course it helps you build the brand. Now imagine your startup has 15, 20, 30 patents. Of course it will help you a lot in your branding activity. So for all these reasons, it's very important that you should safeguard your IP. So how does it all work? So the first thing is we need to validate idea and file a patent thereafter. By validation of idea, what I mean is you need to kind of do a quality check on the idea that you have. Now this could be done on Google searches if you do not want to hire a professional agency like us. You could what I would suggest is start using Google Patents rather than Google alone. Start using European Patent Office. Start using something known as Patent Lens. So that's where the lot of technology documents you would find. So it's like validating your innovation that there is no prior art. Something backdated does not exist when you are going for the filing of your technology, of your patent. So that's the validation step. We call it as a patentability analysis. So of course, companies like us do such stuff a lot. Then once the validation of ideas happen, you go to patent filing. These days in Indian Patent Office, it's easy to get e-filing done. You can just log on to the Patent Office website, make the necessary forms that are there, and go ahead and file the patents. The pricing is very simple. They generally, price for the startups much less as compared to the bigger organization, that is there. In the terms of pricing, you can get your filing done via a professional company at less than about 10,000. Of course, drafting is something today which is tricky. That could go into a few thousands more because you're going to draft via a patent attorney who understands the technology and the technical and the legal aspects behind it. So that's the recommendation that I have with the startup, because you do not want to risk with a loose patent at when you go to the market. 3 years later, this is something that is going to save you. And then you have to, the patents would get published. So this could take a year and a half to get it done. And then once it is published, it's all in government's hand, by the way. No private organization controls that. And then it is granted. And this could take anywhere between 2 to 3 years to get a patent grant. But can I start manufacturing my product already? Yes, you could. Once, ideally, once you have filed the patent, you can start manufacturing or marketing your product very quickly. And then, of course, a lot of companies write patent pending terms. A patent pending terms does not give legal rights somehow, but it does kind of alert your competition that, do not copy my patent tomorrow when it gets granted. Anyhow, you may have to either take license from me or you need to stop the same thing. And of course, you could sometimes uh, ask for damages done as well. Then it comes to valuation. Of course, once it is granted, sometimes people want to license it. And the major question people ask is, what's the dollar value or what's the rupee value of my patent? So that's a 20, 30, 40 page of paper a patent is, but it could have crores in value if you want to do it right. And that's what we will be also talking about this presentation, how to, before taking commercialization via licensing route, you need to value the technology that you're working upon. And there is no fixed algorithm, but of course, we have some proprietary codes written, algorithms written by which we do commercialize technologies, and we give you the approximate value based on the algo that we follow. So let's then quickly jump to the market research part. So that's another very important thing any inventor, any entrepreneur should do. Where should I market it and what's my importance? So there are 6 important steps. First, define your objective, what you want to market, what's the USP or the unique selling product, unique selling pointers for your unique selling propositions for your product. I'm sorry, for your product that you want to launch into the market. Then you need to determine the research design. Then you would be, of course, making a research instrument that how you want to do with it. You need to do some lot of market surveys, get your product tested, get those early feedbacks done. All that data is very important. And then once that is done, you keep on analyzing that data, and then of course you visualize and communicate the findings. So that's how you need to you very cleverly research on any product that you're going to launch in market. Let me also tell you, and this is from a practical perspective, what I've seen is a lot of startups, keep putting time. A lot of entrepreneurs, they want to have the perfection in their product when they want to launch it for the first time. Well, yes, some may say, perfection is good for the product, but then it's time consuming. If you want to, keep investing your time and efforts and of course money for achieving towards 100% precision that the way you want it, mind you, you're losing time out of the market. What is recommended from my side is once you are 85 90% ready, of course there could be some bugs, some things that that could be there, and if those bugs or those improvisation are not critical for the functioning of your product, they are add-ons, they are improvements, they can help somebody even better. So these 10-15% of improvisations I think could wait. What could happen is when the product goes into the market, there could be feedback coming from your consumers. So you should always keep the scope for the time for such consumers to react to your product, and that should be iteratively taken back into your product, and they should be put into your product once you are approaching it. And companies does that. In websites, you get version 1, version 2, version 3. In products, you get every few months companies revise their product. So it keeps going on. So when you're conducting market-based approaches, there are 2 approaches: the primary and the secondary one. Secondary one, to be very honest, is very simple to begin with. Anybody can do it. It requires you to go on a market research website. Google is a good starting point. Look for what is available about your competition. You could find some key peoples in the area, see how they're predicting the market, see what forecasting are they doing for the similar product. So that's something, searching with whatever is available in the market. So that's how you could do a lot of secondary approach based research. You could look for profit loss statements. You could read through journal magazines, and you can go about it. Primary research is more critical. Primary research is basically collecting the survey data from the actual people who wants it, and they are like, that's why it is called primary. You want to interview somebody. LinkedIn, for example, is a good resource. If you find something very good, go to LinkedIn, connect with the, let's say, your peer in Europe, US, or India. Ask them questions. People are generous these days, especially in lockdown. They are, kind of helpful, and they are going to reply to you. So I would suggest that go ahead, get as much primary approach market research done for your startup as possible before you launch it. Then coming to the next important Now that's the holy grail today. Now I have a technology. I have, my startup is working upon it. I am getting in big order, and I do not have the manufacturing capability, money, or labor to kind of produce it. What should I do? Should I decline the order? No. What you need to do is probably get the right value of your IP done, and this would require several parameters and often requires an expert to do it for you. And once you have the IP value, you could get it. And you could have the license value that you could negotiate on the table with your prospect. Some people also use IP value. Now, I'm sure today a lot of startups there already there or in future would be going to their investors. They would say, give us X amounts, X dollars for my startup. And a lot of companies or investors, investor firms ask you to value your IP. So that's what people in US does a lot. Signicent has been doing it day in and out for a lot of startups to value the IP so that they can put it in their balance sheet, they can show it to their investors, and so on. Next, if there is some damage happen, you're at a advanced stage, and let's say if somebody copied your product, now how much you should sue your competitor of? You again need valuation. It is sometimes important, to calculate the future that would be there, the demand and supply dynamics. So there are a lot of objectives IP valuation, do us. So how could I do it? So there are two basic ways, and we'll quickly, go through it. There is a quantitative way of doing it, and there is a qualitative way of doing it. Now, quantitative way is, of course, as the word suggests, is putting a dollar or a euro or a rupee value to your technology. Qualitative way of doing how strong is my IP is. It relies on a lot of factors like legal strength of the patents, how much life my patent is left with, uh, is my competitor citing or using my patent to advance his technology, and so on and so forth. So that's the qualitative way of doing it. And do you ask me which is important? Both of them are important because one is telling you the actual value which you would sit on your table with, and the other is telling you about the quality of the technology that you're working in. So let's take the instruments that are there for each of them. Let's start with qualitative analysis. So one, you kind of understand the qualitative analysis. From here, we the patents, but I'll still try and make it as easy as I can for my audience. So legal status analysis would mean, for example, a patent that is there. Let's say if I have a claim, if I am claiming, for example, let's say the chair that probably I'm sitting today and taking this session on. So anybody who's trying to make that chair at his workshop, is he actually allowed to do that? When you drafted a patent, did you make it too broad as a claim or too narrow as a claim? If you restrict your findings in a patent in a very narrow way, you're leaving a lot of white space for others to come in and poach your market. But if you're going too broad with your technology protection, the examiner who is gonna grant your patent could ask you to cancel those broad claims. So the right way is I need to understand the legal breadth or the legal broadness of the claim. It should neither be too broad nor be too less. So that's again requires something of an expertise to do it. But yes, that's something you should talk about when you are going for patent terms. And then you should also take care of the status of the patent, especially if you're buying or selling IP. Now, if there is 20 years is the lifetime of a patent, if it's already 18 years, you won't be able to get much money for the last 2 years. But yes, if the technology is upcoming, let's say if you had certain good patents in artificial intelligence today, and the future is coming, your patent is just 5 years old, tested the market. Yes, you have a bigger quality and bigger market to address that. So these are some of the terms that legal status would cover at. So if you see this table very quickly, now this is the European and the Korean and Great Britain or the US patents. These are the title of those patents, and you would see we have marked the live patents, which means that they are yet in force, and of course they have more legal value as compared to the patents which are dead or lapsed in the table. So that's how you could do your legal analysis when you are into patent industry. Next, you need to understand the technology and market coverage. Like, how do I want to position my technology? Is it a unique technology, or could the same thing be done by alternative technologies? Have I done sufficient testing? Does it require a lot of skills to make it? You require some MITs or IITNs, or some very good, highly skilled labor to make it. Then of course it's become very technology savvy project, and you need to find your resources and value accordingly. Could you see there are already infringing products? Infringing means that there are some copycats available for the technology that you own or the patent that you own. So all that comes under qualitative way of analyzing a technology. Then you could also look for a lot of bibliographic factors like number of claims it has. Now very quickly, number of independent claims is a good sign, in a way that if your patents have a lot of claims and the broad ones get cancelled, you still have narrower scopes available and the patents may still be alive. But then if there are too many narrow claims, it would dilute down the value of your patent. Then some people say number of words that are there in the dependent claim. So if you want to narrow, say, a technology, I would put more words in it, which I mean if I want to, protect a chair that I'm sitting in. If I'm putting too many restrictions, chair has to be made of plastic. It should have a bag. The inclination angle of my back is only 30 degrees. That's like, to putting too many restriction as compared to a patent, which says it's very broad in nature and it covers all the type of claims. So that's how what qualitative analysis is all about. And there are about citations. Now if you, for example, wrote a research article, or let's assume that let's take it today on Facebook, Instagram, you put a good message picture, and people do a lot of sharing on social networking of your post. That's like forward citation. So you feel good if a lot of people are sharing your post. Likewise, if a lot of people are citing your patents when it is out in the market, that's good for a patent. Backward citations, for example, is sometimes considered negative of that. For example, when you are making your Instagram story, you took bits and pieces from 4 or 5 places, then consolidated that into a single post. It means you use a lot of backward citations, backward posts to make your post. So does go for technology. You cannot rely on a lot of background technology, because then some people think it's not novel. You're doing a plus B plus C plus D kind of thing to make your E, which is then less innovative, right? So with this slide, this is kind of a ranking, the spider web chart, wherein we rank a patent, we score a patent. For example, there are 6 factors. Each factors is 5 points each, and you would see we have scored it on a certain ground. So this particular patent scores 22 of 30, which is decent score, to go ahead with. Then there is a quantitative way of analyzing the market research methods. So market research methods are you just do not want to know by some mathematics. You're not having well equipped resources who could actually value the technology very clearly. So what do you do first? You kind of go hit the Google and see what exactly my competitors in the same area have done in past. So you get an idea. Airplane mode, so I can't help you with that at the moment. You can get an idea, for example, there that have my competition's a value in it. Similar deals have happened in the past. If you can find it on Google, you'll get an idea. Ki agar that person sold it for 1 crore, my technology could also go for around 75 lakhs to 1.25 crores. So it's kind of comparison thing. So this is chart that you will see on your screen right now is an example there that say a deal happened in OI and Toyota, and that's how the $1 million value that these deals happened in. So I can do a comparison and I can understand the market. The next method that you do to value an IP is cost-based method. Now, cost-based method is, for example, today I have a product and I want to create a replica of it. So if I, being your competitor, want to copy your product, how much investment I need to do in the terms of replicating your product. So that's the cost-based method. Of course, nobody's going to replicate it, but that's the way, step-by-step way of thinking it to calculate the cost price of making something similar. Then the other way is a replacement cost. So that the first one, when I asked for copycat, was to make a reproduction cost. Replacement cost is if I need to phase out your product from the market. What money do I need to kill your product totally from the market? That's the replacement cost method. So when you can calculate these kind of methods, you could also value the technology or value the IP that you're working on. What we often work is on income based method, and this is what so Signicent, for example, uses cost based, market based, income based method to all three approaches to get to a value, and that can be averaged out. But income based is something that is tricky. You need to have a lot of mathematical background, and you should know some of the very important factors like royalty rates. Now, for example, if I have a patent related to medicine, the royalty rate could be entirely different from the royalty rate of a patent, let's say, if I have it in the area of softwares. Likewise, a coffee machine royalty rate could be different from a technology in toothpaste industry. So it's very important for somebody using income-based method to have the royalty rate. Generally, it varies between 5 to 10% of the entire deal volume. That's what you could seek if you do not have any clue about the royalty rates. So I would suggest bargain somewhere between 5 to 10% for the royalty rates if you're going to license out your technology. And when it comes to technology licensing, there are a lot of them. So, for example, you have exclusive and non-exclusive licenses, wherein exclusive licenses would mean I have a patented technology, and I want to just exclusively give it to, let's say Mahindra and Mahindra. But am I open, for example, to license that technology to Maruti, Hyundai, or Tata? I don't know that. So if you go for one company as your partner to license out, that becomes an exclusive license. While if you target multiple such companies to take advantage of the technology, it goes under the non-exclusive license. So what about royalty rates then? Of course, if you're going to do exclusively to one person, what would you charge? Of course, you would charge more to that person because he's the only one, who is going to, pay for it. And non-exclusive license would be the one. Since I'm going to, give it to multiple people, of course, I can lower down my royalty rates a little because I'm going to collect it from multiple companies. So, assuming you're still with me, and in the last few minutes of our talk, let's talk about compulsory licensing. Compulsory licensing happens in a situation like this, like in the case of COVID-19. Let's assume there is some company that gets a technology patent. Government may ask for the welfare or for the saving a lot of lives in India to have a compulsory license where they could ask a company that, guys, you cannot manufacture and make the supply to a lot of demand of COVID-19 vaccines. So we need to compulsory license it at a fair royalty rate to a lot of companies. So, but you will still get the money, but you have to make sure that you need to maybe give it to your competitors also at a percentage rate to make sure that people are healthy, because that's where it could get to. Cross licensing happens in an area wherein I have certain technology, you have certain technology. Let's shake hand, exchange technologies amongst each other for the betterment of a product. So this happens a lot. For example, if A company is doing good in processors, B company is doing good in, let's say, image processing, they could give out some patents of processing technology, and B company could give out some patents on on image processing, and they kind of cross license, kind of barter system there. Carrot licensing and stick licensing is very important for you to understand. Now, carrot licensing is something that let's assume I have a technology, but there is an existing product available, but I know my carrot licensing patent is going to add value to the product that is already there in the market. For example, let's take that we all paint. Now in paint, how many of you have painted their homes, or if not painted their homes, at least been in the freshly painted room? Do you feel that pungent smell? Do you feel irritated with that smell? I mean, I do. So what happens is, now there is a paint industry which has patents on the paint composition, but you have a very specific technology that may be an additive and composition that, if added to the paint, can kill down the fumes or the pungent smell that is out there in the paints. So what you could do is you go ahead and tell, for example, the paint company that if you take my license for a very specific technology that I own, you could add value to your existing product. It's going to increase the sales of your product. So that's where we are talking about carrot licensing. You give a carrot and ask the bunny to take it from you so that he feels good. Now, stick licensing is something where you have the stick in hand, like police these days in coronaviruses. So they take the stick and make you do things or make us do things. So stick licensing would mean that I know that for the technology that I own, that I have a patent on, there are companies that are copying my product. I know I have a patent. I know I am the right owner for that technology, but then the companies are still there who are copying unlawfully, illegally my product. So I take the stick with the which is basically a patent right, and kind of blow them off. That guys either take the royalty from me or license amount from me, or stop using it, stop manufacturing it, cut it down. So that's the stick licensing part of it, where you kind of force somebody to take the license from it. So these are all the type of licenses we have discovered. So in a typical licensing agreement, what does a licensee get and what does a licensor get? So licensee will have to have an agreement where they can have they have the patent that they want to license it out, and they would have to give the rights to make use, export, offer for sale, sell the licensed products, and then of course the person would have to give you the money for doing it. So that's the agreement that happens between the licensee and licensor, and that agreement will make sure that you earn your royalties. You get your milestone payments. As a licensor, you get the fees and royalties, and the licensee will get all the rights that otherwise a patent owner would have in exchange of money. So, then let's talk about some of the important components before we, try and sum up. So, there are fees and royalties. Then you need to take care of confidentiality. You need to definitely make sure that you have terms and terminations. You decided you want to do it for 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, the entire life cycle of the patent. You need to decide that. Then who's going to take care if there is a patent maintenance fees needed, if there's something happens, who's going to take care of the government fees, if there is an infringement happens, who get the money, and how much, who is going to take the liability if something bad happens, what kind of warrants are there, is there an insurance if something bad happens. So these are some of the advanced level important components that somebody has to make sure are there in a licensing agreement whenever you are going to go ahead legally to give away your IP to somebody else. Uh, then towards the end, let me share with you. There are some ethical way of running a business. There always are, to be honest. Now, business sometimes a lot of people say is all about money. Well, yes, about money, it is about money. But then, of course, you could be ethical in getting that money. This may mean personally to me going a little slow, but then if ethics are there, integrity is there, trust me, you're going to go long term in your business. So what's the factor that you need from the ethical perspective that you should consider? One, look out for opportunities. Give away to the community. For example, if today your company could do some technology related to COVID, go away, get it done for the entrepreneurs to the fellow entrepreneurs who can develop their technology even better. For example, what Signicent, as my company did, is we are into innovation and patent. So we gave a few working hours free of cost to people who are working. So I won't say it's 100% off, but it could be a lot of free hours of research and consultancy in COVID-19 cases. So we are giving back to the community the way we could without charging them a penny for a good amount of consultancy. And then, of course, define the core value of your organization at a very early stage. This is going to again, stick. For example, if you know that no matter what happens, these are my core values. I'm not going to dwindle out. I'm gonna not going to sell out my core values for making some quick money. If you can decide that at an early stage, you're going to go for a very long run. Welcome healthy discussion from time to time with your staff, with your colleagues, with your partners. ask them what is important to them. I mean, for example, I personally do that a lot with my managers in my company. Sometimes they may not like their suggestions, but then sometimes they are ethically and valid suggestions. So it's a fight between me and my feedback that I'm getting, and let the ethics win out there. uh, and then integrate the ethics into hiring. And this could make you laugh also. A lot of people, I remember there were some companies when we were very small in size. Of course, we were not able to offer money, to the big competition that we had 5 6 years back. So a lot of my people were picked up in interviews in exchange of very confidential client data, the business data. So thankfully, since my ethics, my employees' ethics were clear, my company employees did not go into the hiring mode. But I pity those companies who kind of offer money to the candidates in exchange of very confidential information, trade secrets of a company. If you're an entrepreneur, I would say do not do that. Let it be a little time-consuming journey, but do not, fall trap to the such unethical modes of hiring. Next, craft something everybody could own, make something for them that everybody feels as a responsible towards it. Identify the ethical dilemmas that could come from time to time, and trust me, you will have a lot of dilemmas. When you would grow as an entrepreneur, in your journey. So with that in mind, we cover the entire discussion that we started off today for about 45 minutes or so. And what I'm gonna end up this with is a key conclusion summary. So protect your IP, protect your technology, do a market research done, get your valuation done, get your licensing done, and that's the way going forward. And with this, I would thank you with a very interesting entrepreneurship journey that I often share. So I have a lot of videos on YouTube around it as a resource person, as a speaker, as a mentor. But there's one story that I definitely would like to share with all, and if you have been patient enough to listen to me all this while. So when I started off this company, Signicent, 7 8 years back, what I have faced was that I used to work in nights. Right now, also, I am working at nights, but then that time was very special because you are, leaving your jobs. I quitted my job, paying, stop getting salary checks, and all. I used to work day and night to make sure Significant floats. Today we have, 80 full-time employees in India and US working, so it's all there. So what happened was that this time, I usually go to the bed late in night, 4 a.m., 5 in the morning, and used to get up, late in the noon for the next day's work. Now there are maids that used to come to help us in our homes, as multiple of your homes may be getting support from maids. So this maid is always asking my mother that why Harit is sleeping all the while. So whenever Auntie Ji I am here, what I see is that he is always sleeping. So what happened was that someday my she got like totally pissed off, and she kind of asked me that why is he always sleeping. And you won't believe what happened was that she got into panic mode. And what happened was after a few weeks I had a very important client call that was to happen late in the night. And what happened was I did the other way around. So I worked till 10 11 a.m. in the morning because there was a late night early morning call. So I was working till 10 a.m. 11 a.m. in the morning, and I slept at 11, and I got up at 4 5 p.m. In the evening to catch up my sleep. But this maid then at that day didn't come at 9 or 10 a.m. in the morning. She came at 1 p.m. and I was still sleeping. That day she lost it. That she found me sleeping at 9 a.m. She found me sleeping at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So she thought this guy is of no use, and he's always sleeping. And that day he kind of became my recruiter. She went down in all the homes that she used to serve as maid, kind of recommended me that भैया की job लगवा दो, अच्छे हैं, ये हैं, वो हैं. And today here I am, in front of all of you, addressing everybody and getting a fortune to discuss my stories with you. So, I would suggest that keep patience, stay ethical, follow the right legal pathway, do not give up, get the perseverance. That's a success that you would have to follow for becoming, a good startup. With that in mind, thank you so much, everybody, for liking this video. And I hope if you listen more from me, if you want to stay connected, go to LinkedIn, find myself as Harit Mohan, and we can be connected if you have some more questions that are not answered today. I will love to, answer them on the LinkedIn page or our Signicent's LinkedIn page of our company. Thank you so much. Stay safe, stay home as much as you can. Follow the government instruction. Take care. Goodbye. Good night.